Hello, everyone. My name is Narissa Anderson, and the 2012 Coretta Scott King book that I chose to read is Heart and Soul by Kadir Nelson. Kadir Nelson is also the illustrator of this book, and the publisher of the book is HarperCollins. The copyright date is 2011, and the genre is biography as well as some historical fiction. The book age group is around 6 to 10 years old. Now, a little bit about this book. It started off with the Revolutionary War, which allowed America to be free from Britain. Now, although America was free from Britain, there was African Americans in America who were still slaves. Now, the book fast forwards about 100 years later, which brings in the Civil War, which divided America north and south. The North ended up winning the Civil War, which freed the slaves. Now, although the slaves were freed, in the South, they had the Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws implemented separate but equal. Now, separate but equal, some examples with that was blacks going into restaurants through the back door and not being able to enter in through the front like the whites. Also, they had to use separate bathrooms, which weren't so nice as the white bathrooms. Lastly, black kids and white kids couldn't go to the same school. They had to go to separate schools, and the white schools had better education than the black schools. Now, after the Jim Crow laws, we see our leaders come into play, Martin Luther King as well as Rosa Parks. They wanted equal rights for all African Americans, and Martin Luther King is famous for his famous march with all ethnicities, and Rosa Parks for not standing up on the bus because she wanted to be able to sit in the front and be equal as everyone else. Some even died to see this made into reality. In conclusion, we see the Civil Rights Act signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. This put a rest to the Jim Crow laws. A year later, the Voting Rights Act was passed. The story ends with the narrator casting his vote for the first African American president, President Barack Obama. Now, I want to show you a little bit about the paintings in the story, which are oil paintings. Right here you see a group of people mixed in. There are also some black and white paintings with a sepia feel to it. Here you see a slave who was fighting in the Revolutionary War. Here is our former President George Washington. Here you see a picture of a little boy who is not wearing too many clothes. As you can see, their clothes back then were basically rag clothes, and he seems to be a slave worker. Here's a picture which seems to be them carrying the slaves, transporting them. And many other small illustrations in the book. As you can see in this picture, the facial expressions of them shows how they feel when they were slaves. A picture of them fighting in the war. And the book goes on with many other paintings showing the history up until it led to slaves being free and everyone having equal rights. Now, I think this book is good for children because it tells the stories about African Americans and how they fought for freedom and slavery, what they went through, their hardships. I think children should know, where everything came from and how things have changed and how even our leaders have made a difference in today. A personal experience that I've had with this, my great-great-great-grandparents, so my grandparents' they were actually slaves brought to the Panama Canal to help build the canal. They brought people from all over the Caribbean, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and this is how Black Hispanics came about. And my family is Hispanic, and a lot of my family originated from either Jamaica or Barbados, and one of my great 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 grandparents even from Trinidad. So that's a personal experience I've had that my grandparents spoke to me about, that my ancestors were slaves and they worked on the Panama Canal. My grandparents still reside in Panama, so they still have that history and background with them. An activity I would have the students complete, is to recreate one of the paintings from the book. And this will help them connect with the story on a personal level, as well as help develop their cognitive skills. Thank you again for sitting with me about this book. Again, this is Heart and Soul by Kadir Nelson.